War never changes. This is the story of Martin Winters. My grandfather making a quick decision to help the man on the balcony and find out who they are and what the world's like now was his first choice. He told me as soon as he went in the doorway and saw I heard the gunfire, he fired straight ahead of him, thinking the enemy was there, but he's a bit jumpy after not being in a war situation in a very long time. Well, war not being the word there, but battle. He went through the museum, a museum he's passed through many a times before the end, and noticed how long it has actually been. Everything coming down, shading away, just a ruin of the old world. And going through the place of where you would have found out the American history was slowly fading as well. What kind of new histories were made, or even what kind of governments are still there, or what kind of new governments and society awaits them. But deep down you couldn't tell anyone about this. He had to, well, he had to play the part of being a new member of this society. Now and again I come back to this place, the Museum of Freedom, and look at the mural on the wall. Giant mural dedicated to the men and women of the armed forces of America. I think I still know what it says off by heart. I think it said from Lexington to Concord, from the sands of Iwo Jima, from the Battle of the Sea of Tranquility, and to the Battle of Anchorage. And this is dedicated to the lives of the men and women from Concord who fought bravely for the United States Armed Forces. A memory to them, their legacy, only to be burnt up in a giant ball of fire, but still, their legacy goes through my grandfather. He'll never forget the friends, the families lost to wars, and hopes to, well, keeps that alive through me and my father. And Sean. But being this very quite young version of Preston is quite a strange feeling, because, well, he was quite old when I met him. Still old now. Still kicking. Still quite a hell of a shot with that laser musket. He used to make jokes about my grandfather's aim. But they had to hatch this plan, because Preston and the other survivors from a place called Quincy were, well, there was 20 of them at the beginning, 8 of them that day, the previous day, and now there was only 5. Mama Murphy, the Long family, and, of course, Sturgis, repairman and tinker. In my grandfather's day, he'd probably been called a maintenance man or an engineer, but in modern day, our day in the Commonwealth, he's, well, a lifeline to keeping old world technology going, even building some new ones. He's a smart man. Strange seeing all his hair. Well, all his hair and then possibly a bit of it on the sides, you know. And a bit grey. Big still, very tall man.
What makes that power armor so special?
It's crazy to think that. It's crazy to think he was this energetic. He's a bit of a, you know, he gets cranky sometimes, but I think that comes with age. I wonder what his life would have been like, all their lives been like, if they grew up in pre-war America. What they'll be doing.
Minigun.
My grandfather thought the same
I
thing.
know, right?
Grandfather said one thing about Preston. He wouldn't mind having him in his foxhole. He's someone reliable and he keeps us cool.
It can be powered up again,
Duty bound and
but we're
a
a
lot of
bit
honour
stuck.
in him. Pride as well.
I'll help if I can.
What you'll need is an old
It's nice to think that not everything from from America was gone.
high-grade long-term nuclear battery.
Preston here was a member of the Commonwealth Minutemen, what was left of
We
them.
know right where to find it.
But we can't get
Minutemen.
to the damn thing.
My grandfather told me that was a revolutionary era idea, a militia for the people,
I fixed
called
those.
within a minute's
I
notice.
tinker. Bypassing security ain't exactly my forte. You could give it a shot.
Preston told me all about the
Me too.
great day that
See what I can
my
do.
grandfather came around, and my grandfather told me as
Maybe I'll
well,
help
but
finally turn it around. Once you jack the core into the
he
power
told me
armor,
how
grab
he
that
just came out of
minigun,
nowhere and
those
helped them.
raiders will know they picked the wrong fight. Good
Didn't
luck.
say he was a savior or anything like that. He said he was a good man with good conscience and chose the right people to side with, instead of a brutal band of raiders who were just trying to gun them down and take what they owned. Well, this idea that Sturgis planned was a hunt for a fusion core, some pre-war military tech used by the military and private businesses to power up buildings and keep things powered, like power armor, to example. The T-45 that my grandfather would be using. It's on display in our town, next to another suit of a fallen soldier of the Minutemen. It's outside the Minutemen Memorial in the middle of Sanctuary. My grandfather got the same idea from that plaque inside of the Museum of Freedom, and hoped that one day that they'll be remembered for their sacrifices. Moving on into the old world, the ruins. He couldn't think about that right now. He had a purpose now. Find Sean and help these people. He... Preston said he was unstoppable. Got through creatures and raiders and just generally bad people in a minute. Said it was a great thing for my grandfather to do, because there wasn't many people like that left in the Commonwealth. He he had a lot on his plate that day. Finding the old vertibird, he did find a log that he listened to afterwards of a Staff Sergeant Keeley, I think, U.S. Army. He reported how they saw the blast and their vertibird was, well, taken down by something called EMP, which destroys pretty much anything electrical, making them very, very weak. Well, not weak, but just destroys them in general. My grandfather, after achieving his goals and moving through the streets of Concord, taking out raiders, he's pretty much wearing an unstoppable suit of armor. Tank, basically. He got there pretty much with ease, and having most of quite a lot of ammunition left from the minigun, he met one of the wasteland's most fearsome creatures, known as a deathclaw. My grandfather said he kept his cool, but breasted on the balcony said, "I've never seen a man be so panicked and fire so quickly, but think of a good way of taking it out." Back in the day, most vehicles were powered by fusion cores, which, well, then exploded and destroyed the Deathclaw that came out of the sewers. After that, clearing out Concord, he met back up with Preston and the others,
A pretty amazing display.
and
I'm just
just,
glad you're on our side.
well, Preston gave him a reward. Didn't know who he was
You can
or what
never
he was
have too
like,
many
but
friends.
the man was honourable, and he gave credit where credit was
When we
due.
first met, you said you were glad to help. Well, you did. And we
It's
owe
crazy
you
to
our
think
lives.
that My grandfather said he doesn't miss the American dollar.
It ain't much. It's the best
Caps are much more easier to use. No, well, no, what's the word? Well, no taxes to say, which was pretty nice, and what you bought was what you get, yeah,
Maybe you'll
for
come
the
to
exact
Sanctuary with
price.
us. We could use
But
your help getting settled there.
he may say he didn't miss it, but deep down I think he did, knowing the fact that that was a part of his world. This quite old woman named Mama Murphy, I never had the pleasure of knowing her, was apparently a chem addict who could use something called the sight, which let her see into the future, or something like that, I don't know. I'm very skeptical about that, and so is my father, but my grandfather believed it. It was one way of helping him finding Sean. Sean, who was taken from him. Doesn't know how old he is, or where he is, or how he's doing, or if he's safe. But Mama Murphy assured him that he's still alive and well, feeling his life energy around her. He just didn't know. She just didn't know where he is. But overhearing the conversations between the survivors of this place, he chose to stay and listen. He thought about Preston's offer of going to Sanctuary. He may have had T-45 with him and enough minigun ammo to last maybe a mile or two, but he did need a place to set up in his mind. So he had to make the choice.
That junk. It's gonna kill you.
It was either between leaving them to go into Sanctuary by themselves, or heading off to Diamond City to look for information. But
All right.
my grandfather had a lot to think
Thanks to our
about.
friend here.
He stayed there, listening to them
We're heading for that place.
argue, bicker among each other,
It's not far.
hoping that one of them would have more information to tell. He, well, he had to make a very, very difficult choice.
Take it easy. We're all in this together.
Wait one day and then find Sean, or go
Got a
straight
better
into
idea
it.
of what we should do next? Anybody?
He chose to
Well then.
He chose
Sanctuary
to
it is. Let's just hope it lives
leave
up to its
this
name.
place, I think. But I was still surprised at what his first choice was. He chose to leave the place
Don't worry.
and go outside,
I'll get these people to Sanctuary.
and then make his choice there.
We owe you.
Looking upon the survivors of the Quincy massacre, he was about to leave and go separate ways, but looking back, realizing that only one of them was well trained, while the rest were civilians, he couldn't bring it upon himself to leave them. I don't think, but that's it. This world is full of choices. It either lead to good or bad. I think until then, we'll find out soon that what kind of world he's going to build and be a part of. War never changes, as he always said, but the reason you have to fight that war makes all the difference. These are the stories of Martin Winters.